So hi, welcome to my channel, The Back 40. My name is Brian Davies, and this is a channel to help men deal with becoming a male in the 21st century. We're going to be discussing topics that relate to religion, to spirituality, to relationships, to vocation, and just overall well-being. This series that I'm starting is going to be called The Reconstruction of Man. And the reason for this is because there has been a dramatic shift in the role of men in the 21st century. Different studies have shown different timelines and different periods, but the net study has shown that there has been a transformation in the role and purpose of being a man. Some argue that it is the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Some say it's the rise of feminism. Others say that it has to do with technology. There's others that say that it has to do with environmental. But the end result is, in the etiology of all that has caused that there's just been a decrease in the quality of life of men and their feeling of purpose. So the quality of life indicators, they measure health, but they also measure your perception of how well you're doing, and not just physical health, but mental health. And in some cases, the physical health of men has gotten better. There's been a decrease in heart disease. There's been a decrease in some other health-related issues. But there's also been a major increase in other areas pertaining to quality of life. And these deal more with the emotional and psychological well-being of men. So there's been an increase in suicide. There's been an increase in depression. There has been an increase in substance abuse, increase in crimes and violent crimes that men engage in. So overall, almost all matrices of what it means in the quality of life of men has been painting a pretty bleak picture. One of the most recent revelations has been that men feel that they have lost their purpose, or they're confused as to what their role is in being a male and man in the 21st century. Historically, men have been the providers and the protectors. Not passing judgment on that, it's just the way historically it's been. And now, especially in first and developing countries, that role has been changing. Women are taking on more the role of providing, of the providers, and they're even moving into the protector role. And again, not passing judgment, is just that is what's been going on. And so what this creates is a vacuum in the psyche of men. And in the past, those changes generally took a long time to occur, sometimes generations. And now these changes are occurring quite swiftly. Sometimes, in some, depending on what area you're talking about, they're changing within a lifetime. So you're left with a group of men, a few generations old, that are stuck in the ways that, well, this is how men acted back when I was your age, and all the way up to the boys now. And so they have grandfather models, they have great grandfather role models, they have fathers, and so you have all these conflicting ideas of what it means to be a man. And so boys are just left with this lack of understanding because of the confusion. So do the changes that have been happening, are these changes necessarily a detriment? I'd say no. Especially, it depends on what the change is. But overall, as far as our role of men, one of the things that's coming out is co-parenting, and men taking on the role of caretaker of the house. Again, what's wrong with that? There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. If men are becoming more involved in their children's lives, that's a good thing. Diversity in the workplace, and we have men and women, and not just sex diversity, but you also have culture diversity. But again, that diversity is good for the workplace environment. You have multiple opinions on how to solve a problem. And why is an opinion wrong just because it came from a female? And then you're getting equality in relationships where men and women, and they're becoming more equal in the relationship. I don't see that there's much of a problem with that, because now you're allowing for shared experiences. You're not guys going off doing guy things, the women going off doing women things, and never the two shall meet. You now can have some shared experiences. With a word of caution, that doesn't mean that you have to do everything together. It doesn't matter what the relationship you're in looks like. Any relationship, you do have to have some space for individuality so that you have something to talk about when you get around the dinner table later. So what are we as men to do? We can stick to the status quo, and we can just circle the drain and continue to spiral down in our mental health, and our emotional health, and that's going to cause all sorts of financial and societal problems later down the road. There are some men that say, no, we need to push back and we need to bring back the old ways, and show this masculinity of what masculinity is the way it's always been. And that creates its own set of problems where you're stuck, that may be counter to what other people are thinking. Or the other option is just to start reinventing ourselves and reconstructing ourselves into the 21st century. And how can we help humanity as a whole evolve, not just one subset of the species, to help all of humanity to evolve. So I personally think, 3, that we should be working towards reinventing ourselves, and how to deal with the change, and how to become the best versions of ourselves individually. And with that, we will all rise. We will all help each other. Through the series, we're going to explore various different influences and things that influence the men, and the role of man and the purpose of man. We'll be dealing with topics that influence the body, the mind, the spirit. So I hope that you will join me on this journey, and I hope that you will like this channel, and that you will subscribe, and that you will continue to give me comments, and we can open this discussion up and dig ourselves out of the downward trend that almost all studies are showing that men are dealing with. So I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and tune back in.